So I've come up with this great example of how knowing some basic scale theory can get you out of some really tight spots when you get into weird scales. So anytime you start playing world music, you're going to start to run into all kinds of twisty, funky scales that can sometimes be really confusing. But what you'll often find is that these scales are often related to much simpler scales that you've probably already worked on. And if you just learn how to think of them in a slightly different way, you can often find your way through them really easily without having to learn all kinds of new guitar fingerings. So, especially for a guitarist, this works out really well. So I'll give you an example. Recently I've been working on an Indian melody called raga Marwa. And I'll play it in the key of C. It sounds a little bit like this. Yeah, sounds kind of Asian, you know. It sounds kind of different, and at first it's really hard to conceptualize. It feels very unusual, but if you look at the fingering of what it actually is, even in the key of C, you just imagine that C is kind of your main note, but what it really is it's an A major pentatonic scale put over a C drone. Hear it coming out? And I could just as easily switch it to... See, you hear? It's really easy to just turn into an A major pentatonic scale. And that happens a lot in Marwa. For a little while, you'd be like... And you resolve it. And it feels all weird and stuff. But that's kind of how this raga works. It's just a pentatonic scale that you synthesize in with this one weird note. But the weird note is the root. It's the tonic. It's the C. So you'll find a lot of ragas work like this. They're pentatonic scales that are put over a drone that doesn't quite fit with them, and figuring out how to work it in is what makes the melody interesting. But see, if you're looking at it from a guitarist perspective, to learn the fingering for this, if you already know the blues scales. All you got to do is add one note, and the note that you add is actually the blue note. The C in the A major pentatonic scale, it's the blue note. That note I bend to can almost make the blues and Marwa sound kind of similar because they have the exact same scale. You just kind of use them in a slightly different way. So that's a really good example I found how if you know the fingerings for the A major pentatonic scale already, just because you're a blues guitar player, you can already kind of play this melody a little bit. It's good to learn some of the specific phrases that they use for it so you play it right. But for all intents and purposes, you don't have to learn all kinds of new scale fingerings just because the scale's weird. So it's a really good example of how if you know some basic scale theory on the guitar, you can expand it really easily to lots of cool stuff. So yeah, there you go.